Hello, my name is Victor, and in today's video, I want to talk about PayPal and ask the question, is PayPal going to do anything in 2026 besides go down? Seriously though, PayPal is currently trading at about $44 a share and is down 24% year to date. The stock currently has a trailing PE of 8, incredibly low, but also, interestingly, its forward PE ratio is also an 8 in my calculations. So what exactly does that mean for the stock? Well, ideally, I want to see a forward PE ratio that is lower than the trailing PE. But the fact that the trailing and forward PE ratios are the exact same lets me know that there is not much expected for PayPal stock through the end of 2027. If you're a subscriber here on the channel, you know that I have already been considering selling my PayPal stock position in my personal portfolio. But as I was doing some research on the stock, I found something a little bit interesting in their most recent guidance of Q1 of 2026. And I'm just going to zoom in on the part that I found interesting here, and that is two parts here. That their adjusted free cash flow expected throughout 2026 is going to be a little over $6 billion. But what caught my eye was the line right below it, and that is share repurchases are expected to be $6 billion in 2026 as well. And you know, that immediately triggered something in my mind, and I started asking the question, okay, if not much is expected of PayPal throughout 2027, let's say hypothetically, PayPal's revenue, their earnings, everything stays exactly the same through the end of next year, but PayPal has enough free cash flow or growing free cash flow to repurchase shares, what exactly would that do for the stock price? So naturally, I did some research, and if you like these types of videos and enjoy my content, be sure to give me a like and subscribe as it helps me out tremendously. But okay, back to the matter at hand, and that is PayPal's free cash flow has been pretty consistent at least through the past 3 years, even though in that time the stock price has been absolutely decimated. Because when I did some research, I found that in 2024, PayPal had free cash flow of about $6.6 billion. Last year, in 2025, they were at $5.6 billion. So significantly lower, but here we are with their projections as we just saw. In 2026, their projected free cash flow is going to be at least $6 billion. So an increase compared to last year, keeping everything relatively in range, which is what I wanted to see, because what I was afraid of was that I was going to look into PayPal and see that free cash flow was continually decreasing over time. But I am happy to see that's not the case, at least right now. And as I was going over their Q1 results, I found that PayPal is continuing to focus on share repurchases. As you can see here, and this is coming straight from their 10Q, quote, during the 3 months ended March the 31st of 2026, PayPal repurchased approximately 34 million shares of common stock, which was approximately 1.5 billion at an average cost of about $44.60. As of March 31st of 2026, a total of approximately $12.4 billion remained available for future repurchases of common stock. And just like we saw here, that makes sense that they bought 1.5 billion, which would be exactly 25% of the 6 billion they have projected for the entire year. And if you're new to the stock market, you want to have companies lower the number of outstanding shares, because that means the percentage of ownership for you as an investor increases. And that was the next thing that I wanted to look into here, because in my research, I found that at the end of 2024, PayPal had about 993 million outstanding shares. That was a 7% decrease in the total number of shares compared to the prior year. In 2025, they had 920 million shares, again, a 7% decrease compared to the prior year. And here we are going into July of 2026. We're currently at 882 million shares, which so far is a 4% decrease compared to last year. Like I mentioned, that is exactly what I wanted to see as an investor of PayPal. What I was afraid of, again, was that shares weren't really decreasing. But on the one hand, I was like, how are they not going to be repurchasing shares considering the absolute decimation of the stock price? Now would be the time for PayPal CEO to be like, hey, we need to get a repurchase agreement, a buyback agreement to get some shares off the table. Because the stock is so cheap right now. Why wouldn't you want to do that? Doing some incredibly simplified math, we know that PayPal would have about $4.5 billion left to repurchase shares. And I know that PayPal is probably not going to stay at this current $44 per share. But for a very simplified projection, $4.5 billion divided by the current share price, that would mean that PayPal could hypothetically buy back about 102 million shares and just wipe that off for current investors. This would mean that by the end of this year, we could be looking at PayPal having about 780 million shares outstanding. So what would this do for PayPal's stock price? So again, the math is fairly simple. Take the market cap, which is the price of the entire company, and divide it by the shares outstanding, and you would get price per share. When I did that, I found that 39 billion divided by 780 million shares would give me about $50 per share. As a reminder, PayPal is currently trading, as of the time of this recording, at about $44 per share. So that would be a 13% increase just by repurchases of shares alone. Again, this is with me not even expecting any kind of growth from PayPal, and we're using the free cash flow projected that they provided. So this is all within reasonable expectations, in my opinion. Now again, I'm doing my calculations, and as I always tell all of my subscribers, don't make financial decisions based on what some random guy on the internet thinks, but come to your own conclusions, do your own research. But what am I going to do with PayPal in my personal portfolio? Well, if you ask me, I know that I have mentioned that I have thought about selling PayPal and potentially moving that money into SoFi. I have been thinking about maybe other alternatives as well, but I'm still thinking about it. I don't like to make rash decisions or anything impulsive. I like to sit down, think about it for days, if not weeks at a time. But as of right now here, going into July of 2026, I currently have PayPal as a hold in my portfolio. Now, having said that, I do think that I'm only going to give PayPal until the end of the year to see some kind of movement in the stock, because I feel like there are so many great opportunities for other stocks like SoFi. Meta, I think, is a great buy at these prices. We have Elf, we have Netflix, Microsoft. So many great companies are at low prices, and I want to take advantage while I have the opportunity. But let's say come December of this year, 2026, PayPal is still trading below $50 a share. In that scenario, I think I would strongly consider just selling my PayPal position. I would probably do that at a loss, but I would be able to take advantage of tax loss harvesting with that position, transfer that over to another position, another stock that I think would be better suited for the next 2 to 3 years. And there is also the potential for PayPal to be a buyout candidate. If another company, like let's say Apple or anybody else, wanted a consistent, profitable company to merge with them, PayPal could potentially be an acquisition target for a bigger company here in the financial sector. But there's no guarantee of that, and I'm not banking on that, which is why I'm starting to get into a position where I need to make a decision with PayPal as a position in my portfolio. But as always, I would love to know what you think about PayPal stock in the comments below. Do you think that the PE ratios are so compressed and that PayPal is just ready to skyrocket in price over the next, let's say, 6 to 12 months? Or do you think PayPal has way too many problems and is just going to be dead money for the next 2 to 4 years? Let me know what you think below. Also, don't forget to let me know who you are rooting for in the World Cup as we get into the knockout stages of the competition. I love it when the stakes go up in the World Cup, and I hope you do too. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and as always, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.